Hey crafters, well, welcome back to getting started with our tutorial for this for this book. And the reason behind doing this book is a couple of things. I've been watching some different crafters on YouTube, watching them doing for some junk journals, some different ways that they've used paper, used not the paper necessarily, but envelopes and things like that. So I decided to kind of put a lot of these things together that I was seeing that others were doing and make it into not a junk journal, but into really kind of like a December daily if you want to make it like that, but it's totally up to you. One of the reasons why I thought of it as a good way to do a December daily is because there's some, I'll go through it with you real quick, some ways to not have huge areas for every day of December. So my idea is that this is a flap right here. There is some pockets. There's pocket right in here. There is pocket right in here. There is a pocket that goes down along here. There's also even a sideways pocket if you want to put a small tag in here or a small tag in this way. But there's lots of pockets. And then you open this up and there is a pocket here, there's a pocket here. And I decided I was going to use for my tags, for inside my envelopes, that I'm going to be doing some embossed cardstock and gonna try out some different things with that. But this is what I was thinking, is that if I started, and this, let's say, was December 1st, and I could have a 1 on here, a 2 on here, and it would have one piece of or area to put a picture on right here, and I have a little pull-out on here, and I also would have a spot to put some information down here, but it isn't a great big huge area. So same thing here, like day 2, this could be information on there. So this side is actually going to be the same as the other side. So I wanted to show you, I did this all to begin with because I wanted to see if it would work. And then we've got some bigger tags in here, bigger tags in here, more, I might put a piece in here that can put some, like 2 pictures in, and some journaling could go on the back of here. I plan on doing some ornaments down here just so that some pictures could go in there. But this basically just wraps up like this and is put together. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and work on this side of the folio, and basically doing it on this side. The only thing that you're going to have to change, really, because, well, you may have to change the side that the flap goes on, but that's not hard to do. The only thing that you're going to have to really make a major change on is, you see these flap pockets are on this side. Well, the flap pockets are on this side because I wanted to mirror them to that flap. So these basically, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'll give you the measurements for things that I've done, and we're going to go ahead and start putting things together. I'm not going to put all the pattern paper on everything. I'm going to just put the pattern paper on major areas, but and I will give you some of the measurements like this. I'll give you for, because it's pretty integral to putting it all together. But areas that aren't, I mean, you can measure where these pockets are, and putting the card, these were the cards on there, the cards were used over here, and then they're on the back of there as well. So those are things that you know how to do and you can do, but basically the majority of my, when I've left black in those areas, I've all gone down 1/8 of an inch, and then if I put pattern paper on here specifically, I'm going to go down 1/8 of an inch. And basically I will be probably putting in this color again on the inside, probably. I'm not sure yet. So I just have to go through it and pick out what will work best. And then this flaps over. So this is a 1/2 inch flap, and we're going to do a 1/2 inch flap here. And I believe this spine it's 1.5 inches. So if we close this, it's 1 inch. Let me just make sure. It's 1.5 inches. So let's go and let's talk about the covers to begin with. So starting out with our album is 7 by 9. So you're going to have to cut chipboard, and basically what I used is I did use the thinner weight. This is just a small piece, but I used the thinner weight cardboard. And the reason why I did was because I was putting a couple layers of cardstock on it, and it's just a little bit easier to cut and trim. So I used the thin chipboard that you can get at Country Craft Creations. You know, and by the way, this is a design team project for Country Craft Creations, and this is part of my design team package, and I'm so excited I'm getting this done a bit ahead of time, and you should be happy about that too. Tamara also has some other tutorials on her channel for different types of December dailies. I was doing this one because being, you know, I'm a little bit older. I'm not with my family all the time. I don't have necessarily kids that I'm with all the time. So this is nice for me. It's a little bit less room to put pictures and journaling in. And I feel like this is something I can fill and not feel bad about leaving a lot of wasted space. So that's why I have this one. It's more of a folio type. So going back to the measurements, let's go back. The chipboard, you're going to have to cut 2 pieces of 7 by 9. And then the cardstock that we wrap the chipboard with is 9 by 11, because we need an inch on either side to wrap. And you can see my video in the basics for journal making, and that's exactly how I wrapped them. The only other piece of chipboard that you're going to need is you are going to need a piece of chipboard that is 1.5 by 9, and the cardstock for wrapping that is 4.5 by 11. We have an inch on either end to wrap, but on the sides, because of how we put it together, you're going to need 1.5 inches here and 1.5 inches here. And again, that goes along with how I do my wrapping of my covers, and you can see that in the video that I'll have linked in the description box. So then going ahead, what we ended up doing is I covered all the inside and the outside, and every piece of this red, this is the Artisan red cardstock, is cut 1/8 of an inch shorter. So if this is 7 by 9, this is cut at 6 7/8 by 8 7/8, the red on there. The only place that I do is on the spine. This is a 1.5 inch spine, but because it seems to get a little bit bigger once it's wrapped, I cut the solid cardstock on the spine at the same measurement of the spine. So my solid cardstock that I cut for this red is 1.5 by 8 7/8. So again, this is 1.5 by 8 7/8, and that'll give you the red color. Same thing on the inside. This is cut at 6 7/8 by 8 7/8, and this is covered, and the spine is 1.5 by 8 7/8. And I will do either some pattern paper on here, or I'm not really sure yet what I'm going to be doing with that, but I will we will work on that as we go along. So the next thing that you're going to have to do I'm going to talk about putting this together and what we need to do for putting the envelopes together. And this flap is going to be like this flap, only it's going to go from this way, just like this one comes in this way. And this is going to have to go down before most of the other pieces are going to go down or are going to be attached to it anyways. This will all be attached together that we're going to be putting down. And then we'll put down our pattern paper on here at the very end once we have all of our envelopes and pockets and everything done. So what I'm going to do is to talk to you about this flap because we're going to cover it with pattern paper first so that we can get that part done. So this black piece of cardstock is 7 7/8, and I scored at 1/2 inch, and then I scored again at 1/2 inch because I'm leaving a 1/2 inch gusset on this flap so that I can give room to the envelopes that are in there. All right, and so then the height of this, the height of this is 8 3/4. That's how the height of this black flap is. So 8 3/4 by 7 7/8. Then our pattern paper that is going to go onto this flap these are then cut at 8 5/8 by, nope, sorry, hold on. Yes, 8 5/8 by 6 3/4, and I cut 2 of them. And what I did is I'm cutting 2 complementary patterns that work well together, one on top of each other. And you'll see that I did the same ones over here because I want these to match each other. And the other thing that I did on this flap that I want to show you, and I'm not sure if I can do this again, I don't know if I have the sticker, but on this flap I put one of the stickers along here to cover that 1/2 inch. I didn't actually look to see if I had more of that to do that with. I really should have done that, sorry. Let's see. I took that sticker, it's not on here. Oh, you know what? I think it was on the pattern paper now that I think about it. Let me just look real quick here so that I can, oh, nope, it was in the stickers. It was on one of the pages of the stickers. It was, you know what? I totally could be wrong. Let me check that out and I'll get back to you. I'm not sure whether it was the paper or the stickers. If it was paper, then we'll use that again. If not, I will use one of these stickers here. I did use part of this sticker for across one of my pockets to complement that, and we'll probably use some of these other stickers as well. All right, so let's go to this flap. What we're going to do with this flap is I'm going to go ahead and put the paper down on here so it's down, and we're set to go with that. And then what we'll do is we'll start making our envelopes to get that ready. So the first thing that I want to put down is I want to put this base layer down. And in putting this down, I want to make sure that I'm putting glue along here, here, and here, and here. So that, and actually this could actually go back a little bit further if you want it to open a little bit more. But I pretty much did the glue. So around all the edges that we can put it down. And if there's any questions about anything on this tutorial, please ask them down below. I will be more than happy to answer your questions, but also I put the measurements and the information in the video for your, so that you have it forever, basically, for making this folio, this journal. And There is not written instructions. They take a long, long, long time. And I work full time. I just don't have time to write everything down. I have them written down for my information, but they're not really usable for other people because you might not even understand what I've got written. So down here, I have this put onto here. I went back into my packet of leftover papers from the cutting of this off, and I want to match up this with this inside here. And so what I did is I cut this to, ooh, I should have maybe put this down first. Maybe not. Maybe it'll be fine. Or I could cut it a little shorter. So I cut this piece 4.5 by 4.5. So this piece of pattern paper that is going inside the pockets, I put at 4.5 by 4.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this completely down so that it is the background of our pocket. It is a little bit bigger, the background, and you can go ahead and cut it smaller if you like. That's just the measurements that I used. It was 4.5 by 4.5. So, okay, this doesn't want to be a friend to me today. It goes one way and then it sticks the other way, and okay, well, that's good enough. All right, and then I'm going to come along here and I'm going to put a little bit more glue. Just down. Oh, it's already off. Just down along here so I do get it all the way along. All right, and then the way I folded this is I went about on this piece right here. This is a piece of the pattern paper, and I went over about 2.5, 2.25 inches, and then I folded this back and then folded this up. And then for this one, it's the same size as the bottom one, and this I gave myself about 1/2 inch of difference there. Forgot about my pencil that I had on there. Now, on these pages, this side really went well underneath there. I'm not sure what I did differently in folding it, but I must have done something different. I had it at 1/4 inch, and then I went to 1/2 inch. So I am, because this is going to be down over this, I can get it over that, but I am going to, I'm just going to glue that down so it stays down. Not under here, but just up here I'm going to do that, and it'll still stay open for tucking in there. The other remedy to this that I could have done is this top paper. I could have made this a little bit longer, and so then it would have sat a little bit higher on here and down here, and it would have held it down. But for now, this is what I'm going to do, and to hold this tuck down. And I'm just going to glue on here too, and I'm going to hold that down. Now there's different ways that you can make this angle and move so that you can tuck different tags in different places. You know, I don't need that many pockets in everything that I do. I just want the basic pockets that I can use, and I will be happy with that. Just got to make sure I have this fairly even. Okay. Then I'm going to go along here, and I'm going to just glue Oh, shoot. Gosh, I'm like going ahead of myself here. And so we're going to change this just a little bit. One of the things that I forgot to do before I glued it down is I did do a cut in both of these pieces of paper so that I could tuck into this pocket. But I can make it work with what I've got. You can do it with both of them, or you could do it with just one of them, because really I can just go along this piece and I can cut into here and I can use it as a pocket, which might actually almost make it more sturdy. So before we put this piece onto this piece, we are actually going to I'm going to take my little ruler so when I did it before, I wonder if I shouldn't, yeah, I think, let me do something. I want to be sure I'm about at the same height. My pencil, where'd it go? Oh, there we go. So I want to make that about the same height. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just don't want it to be really, really far off. All right. I always kind of tease and say I just have to bob and weave a little bit with my playing with the patterns, because you know, not everything is perfect and it doesn't always work perfectly every single time we make something. It's just the way it is because it's handmade. You know, I think I'm going to take this one where it has a metal edge to it. And I'm going to put it on so I can line it up. And there we go. I'm going to take my cutter and I am going to go ahead and cut well. This literally cut all the way across. I'm not sure why it was done that way. Don't remember anymore, but we're going to do that just to keep it the same. I'll stop right about there, and that's our beginning of our cut. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over just a little bit further. Make a mark where my ending was on that. Okay. I want to make this cut a little bit so that I can, so there is some room in there. Ooh, that one's a little bigger than the other one was, but that's okay. It's okay because we have the pattern paper behind it. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to level that off a little bit. And I'm going to take this and cut that off. And then I have a pencil mark right here where the end of that was. And what I will end up doing on here is putting this down onto here and then gluing like all this and this, and what will end up happening is this will end up being a pocket for our page. So all right, let me go ahead and get our, I made that a little bit too wide, but I don't know, good things come when you change things around a little bit. Let's see what happens with it, and maybe we'll like that change on that a little bit more than the other way. All right. So what I'm going to do is come down over here. I'm going to put this down. Put this down. You can see that there's a little bit of that paper line in between there, but once we get a tag in there, you're not even going to see it, but it's actually black and it matches what's up here, so I think it'll be just fine. Okay. And then we want to have this open so that our tags can tuck down into here, and tags can cut down into here. They could, if I didn't glue this down, we could tuck something there too, or tuck something here. But I think what I'm going to do is glue this so I could tuck a tag here. So I think I'm going to glue here and along here, but leave the rest of that open. So I still have openings for the tag to be able to be tucked. So if I wanted to tuck a tag, I could tuck something short in there. And we had that other one set so we could do here too. If you want to do that, then what I would suggest to do is take and put a dab of glue on the tip and put that down. So then you've got that down, but you still have room for pockets and pockets and pockets all the way along on there. So there we go. We have our 2 pages that mirror each other, and we will get the other pockets ready to go on there. I think I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that I need to do. Nope, I think we're all set. So then what we're going to do is we're going to start off by making the pockets. So I have all the measurements from the pockets, and we will put them together. And once we have them all together, I'm not going to put all the paper down on them right away. We'll put them together so that they are ready to have paper put on them. And I'm actually going to put the paper on them off camera, just because it actually is just easier. So we're going to start off with this small pocket, and we're going to make 2 of these small pockets, and I call this pocket number 1 and pocket number 2. In pocket number 1, you're going to cut excuse me, you're going to cut your cardstock, your black cardstock, to 3.5 by 6 3/4, and on the side hinges they're going to be 1/4 inch for the hinge, and then on this side of that piece you are going to score so that you have 1/2 inch, and then you're going to score at another 1/4 inch. So if I had this down on my scoreboard, I'd score 1/2 inch, and then I'd score at 3/4. And then that way what it's going to do is give me a little bit of a gusset in my envelope flap. Okay, so what does that look like? This is what it looks like when it's all cut out. I've got my 1/4 inch of flaps here. I've got 1/4 inch flap here, 1/2 inch flap right here. And as you can see, I mitered the edges along all of these, and I mitered the edges here. And then I cut a secondary piece which is the base to my envelope, and that piece is 3 by 6. And when I say 3 by 6, I would say this is probably 3 and a skosh off. So it could be like 1/16 less, or not, I wouldn't do a whole 1/8, but just to take a little bit more off that. And so you're going to make 2 of these. So basically you can cut the pockets for this for 2 pockets right away. And then what I do is I take my 1-inch punch, and I just punched into the pocket there. Just like, I'll just do that real quick. And I just try to center it by my eye. And sometimes I'm good and sometimes I'm not. So then what we're going to do is we're going to take this pocket, and I know these are thin hinges, but I don't know, I thought because of these being of them being like an envelope almost, I thought that 1/4 inch would be a little bit easier for putting tags and things in and out. So that's what I did. So I've got both of my hinges here, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to score so that I make a 1/4 inch gusset and my 1/2 inch hinge. And you need to have a 1/2 inch hinge. If not more, you can make it 3/4 inch hinge, meaning this can be longer, because there is going to be a little bit of depth to our envelopes. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take this piece that's 3 by 6 with a little bit of off of that, and I'm going to actually put that into my envelope right here. And you can see that it moves a little bit in here, because if I put it right up to those hinges on the sides, it would make them bulge. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm just going to run some of my art glitter glue, and I'm actually putting these on top. And the reason for that, which will take a little bit of rubbing, is because I'll cover those with my pattern paper or with the cards, and it doesn't make the pocket kind of squish out. I seem to have problems with that when I'm trying to do pockets. And actually right here, I think I got that just slightly crooked, so I'm going to cut just a skosh off here. I think that'll help me with that hinge in there. Yeah, you can see I'm a little bit off here, but I'm not going to change that now. So I'm just running my glue along here, and I'm not putting tons of glue on here because it doesn't need tons of glue. Just enough for it to connect all the paper. And there we've got one of our pockets ready. And we've got another pocket over here ready. So this is 1, 2, and it really doesn't matter. They're both the same measurement, so we'll put those to the side. So then our third pocket is, we're going to cut the papers for our third pocket, is going to be oh, I think I made a mistake on this, and then I was gonna, yes, I did. So our third pocket is actually going to be 4 5/8. This is the top one. Is actually going to be 4 5/8. Yep, 4 5/8 by 6 5/8, I believe. Yes, 6 5/8. I made a scoring error here, but I'm not going to throw this away just because of that, because I'll cover it up with my pattern paper. And then just make sure you have all the edges mitered. Got that done. I just forgot that one. And then the piece that is actually going to go inside this right here is going to be 6 1/8 by 4 1/8. So let's find it. So 6 1/8 by 4 1/8. And that just helps us with the 4 by 6 patterns, that we can have enough room for those cards on these pockets. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing with the black paper. So then what we're going to do again is I'm going to go along here, make sure my black pattern paper or cardstock matches up, and push that down. One of the things you'll see though is that even though there's those hinges that are on the outside, all of the hinges will go to the back of the envelopes, so they're not going to be on the top when I'm putting a cardstock or pattern paper on them. So you'll see that the card will go right over that. We should be good. Gosh, not happy with myself here today. I'm usually really accurate with this, but not today. All right, so then that's our pocket number 3. We'll put that over there. Then our next pocket, number 4, is 6 by 7. And that is glue on there. So that is this piece that is 6 inches by 7. And you are going to score 1/4 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 of an inch. That's what that looks like. And then the base to that pocket number 4, that measures 5.5. Make sure 5.5 by 6.5. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we are going to take these hinges and score those. And you know, with your Artisan Cardstock, if you use that from Country Craft Creations, it really can withstand a lot of scoring and you know, and rubbing to for the hinges. I rarely, if ever, have any breakage with any of my. And again, with any of this, what I would suggest to do is make sure that you match up this and then hold it down tight. And as you can see, every single one of these are the same. Turn this one around. This folio in and of itself does not have to be Christmas. It can really be made up with any of, you know, any other kinds of paper pack that you like. The other thing that I should mention, I guess, is in the back of my pockets, I'm not gluing any of those down at all. And the reason why is because these are all going to really be closed off with as they get attached together. So they'll be fine. So I'm not worrying about attaching all of that. So then we go to pocket number 5. And pocket number 5 is cut at, let's just use our ruler. It is cut at 6 inches by 7.5. So 6 inches by 7.5. And then we're going to score 1/2 of an inch there. That is our hinge. And then to hinge along here. And I forgot to miter these. I just want to miter these. Just so that on the edges that they don't stick out. right, and then the inside piece that on this one is going to be, I believe, 5.5 by just slightly under 7. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish this down. Excuse me, a little bit of a cough. And burnish this down. And then we've got our number 5 envelope. And we're going to, you see we have, did we do that on this one? I forgot to do it on this one. Little tab. And on this put that down, and we can put our art glitter glue along there. And I do get my art glitter glue at Country Craft Creations, and now make sure that it's coming up to the cooler season. Make sure you fill up on your art glitter glue so that over the winter you have enough to last. I always buy extra early on in the season, so you still have lots of time, but unless you live in the Antarctica or the Antarctic, because it cannot ship during these times of when the weather is too cold, because it ruins the glue. And anybody who tells you they can ship it in the winter is not telling you correctly, and you don't want to lose all your glue. All right, so the next envelopes that we have on here is pockets number, or envelopes pockets number 6 and 7, and they are actually the same size, both of them. They are, this folded layer is 8.5 by 4.5, and it's mitered at 1/2 inch here, 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, and then it's punched in the middle there. And that's on both of them because they're both exactly the same. And then the base for this is 7 7/8. Let me just make sure. Oh, I cut this a little bit. I wonder if I cut that too short. Oh, this one I did cut a little bit short. So really that should be 8 by 4. Yeah, 8 by 4. I cut that one a little bit shy. So 8 by 4 and 8.5 by 4.5. And you should have your 2 pockets, and let's go ahead and put those together. I've punched the notches on them, so and we're going to put our piece in here. And again, like I said, I cut that a little bit shy, but it's really okay. I've got enough room on either side that it's not going to hurt our pocket in any way. I just want to make sure that when I put the glue on here, I put this glue a little bit higher to the top of the hinge so that it doesn't glue down that piece on anything, so it doesn't shorten the pocket. But it's a very long pocket, so it's all good. Then I turn this around. I would rather have it a little bit short to having it be bulgy and it's just much nicer. All right, there's 6. Just glue this down, and then this is our last pocket. And then the papers that I put on here basically, again, are all about 1/8 smaller than the measurements that I gave you. So it should be very easy to put together, or, you know, put the pattern paper on the envelopes, because they're all they're all 1/8. The pattern paper is all 1/8. The only thing that I did differently really on these envelopes that were all the way to the inside is I did put a pocket in here, and I just did a standard piece of cardstock, or pattern paper. I did not put any gussets in it because I wanted it to be not too bulky. So it was a 3-inch pocket, so it was 3 inches by let's see, 3 inches by 4, or slightly under 4. And then I just put pockets along here, and, you know, the a complementary pattern paper along there. So basically that is our pockets, and we can go ahead and put this all together. So taking our base pockets, we've got, these are our base pockets, and we are going to make a decision how we want these in our book. So I had done these pockets so that I wanted these pockets to be up and down. And you have to start at the bottom and move your way up. And then my next pocket, I wanted to put this one more towards the middle. You can figure out how you'd like to do any of them, whatever works best for you. And you don't even have to put them in this same order that I'm putting them in, because it, you know, it's all going to go together pretty much similarly. And if you have a way that you want the pattern paper to show, then go ahead and do that and put it all together as well. And then what's going to happen is that my final pieces are going to go underneath here and around here to hold these down. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and do one side of this, and then we'll go and do the next side of it. So this envelope is going to be here. So I'm going to take this envelope and put it around this envelope. Again, the order doesn't really matter that much, just really what you want and how you would like it to look. So I'm going to do that and put this down, and on that hinge and this hinge, And I made sure I gave it enough room so that it would look good when it was pulled down, the hinge was pulled down. All right, so that's our second pocket, and just trying to make sure we're straight along the edges, we're not too bad. And then I had this pocket on here as well. I think I'm going to put that one down just a little bit further and match that up with these. Oops, wrong bottle. I got like 5 bottles going around here, and sometimes I do that because they one clogs up and then the other one I have it ready to go. So then you're just gluing these to the hinges, like one on top of another. So this is what it would look like down on the page. Not in our, it's not going on top of here, but I'm just using this as a sizing, something that'll help me get the size of everything correct. So we have one last one that we want to put on this side, and I think I want to put it right here, and I'm going to pull that tight so you can see where my 1/2 inch score is. And I want to make sure that I can do that so that I can get to the score a little bit easier. And there we've got a 1/4 inch gusset so that it can help us as we're putting the items in. I'm going to take these and just hold that down for a little while so it can stay glued. And you're going to find that they're going to be a little bit off from each other a little bit, but it's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. So then let's look at this one. This one is going to be over on this side, and this one I wanted to start down this way. And I just want to look at what I've got here. And basically for this one, where do we have that big one? Big one's up. I think I'm going to do this, so I'm going to have this one right in the middle of this pocket. I think that's how I'd like it to go. So we'll put that down. And again, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Just do it the way that you're most comfortable with or that you think works well. So that's right in the middle of that, or pretty much in the middle. And we're going to put our other hinged pocket. I'm going to put that down, pull that up a little bit. This will be pretty much like this. Okay, and just to get at that hinge. Going to bend it a little bit so that I get a little bit of room on that hinge, but and we have a little bit of that gusset if need be for anything that's underneath it. So I'm going to pull another all right. So then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our book and we are actually going to put this in up against. If you want to, you can put that piece on there before you put it in, but I'm just going to go ahead and put our page in. And so what I did is I'm just flattening this out because it gives me a little bit of a better look at what I'm doing. And I'm going to put this down first, and then I'm going to put the other pages in. And we will cut the pattern paper that will cover over all these hinges when we are done, or as we get to that point to finish off this part of the folio. And yes, it goes a little bit over because we have a 1/2 inch hinge here. So it's going to go a little bit. So there you go. See, we're all good. So then after we have this in and clean that up and off, I'm going to go ahead and take these envelopes that I've already glued together, and I'm going to put these into this page like this, and making sure that I am enough away from the score line that this can come all the way over and stand straight up. So I'm gonna futz with that a little bit. Make sure that I'm just trying to make sure I have it all in place. I'm going to go ahead and put my art glitter glue down. And I do the glue because I like it better than the tape. My understanding is that glue bonds with the fibers of the other pieces of paper, where the glue itself, or I'm sorry, the tape can actually dry out on its own, and once it dries out, then it comes loose. So that's why I like the glue versus, make sure this still, yeah, it's good. So we're going to get that down. And that's going to take a little while to dry. I'm not going to flip it all the way around everywhere and which way until I'm sure that I've got that fairly tight to the base of my book. So we've got that. And then we've got these pages over here. And they're not going to sit exactly like this. They're going to flip together. Once we get everything put together, it's going to be kind of a layered flap on it. So get that down. Sorry, I just always test and test and test before I put something down. Doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, but I feel a little bit better about what I'm putting down if I've done a little bit of testing or dry running with what I'm putting down. Okay. Alrighty, so we're going to look at this one going down that way, this one this way, this like this, and this, and then we've got this, and then this one. Now, I did not put a magnet in this before, but I am going to put a magnet in this part of the book, and I'll show you how I'm going to fix this other side of the book, because I did not put a magnet in there. I thought I didn't need it, but basically I'm going to use one of these pulls, and I'm going to put a magnet in here, in one of those pulls, and I'm going to put a magnet down at the bottom, and so it'll hold that down. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and do a magnet this way. Now, the inside of this is going to be decorated just like this. And basically what I did is I took pieces of paper. This is about a 3-inch, I think, let me just measure it. Don't think I did any gussets on these because I didn't want to make them really big. So this is like 3 1/4 by 4 and then 4. I just took whatever I had as cutoffs or pieces that worked well with what was on this side. And then this, I took a piece of the paper and I backed it with some black cardstock. This is one of the stickers that I just put down. I think I'm still going to do something along here. I'm not really sure what. Even if I do a punch in here, that'll look a little better than just, it's kind of a straight edge for me and I don't like it very much. So I think I'm going to do that. And also just noting, I did put the 1/2-inch cardstock in there. And I'm going to go ahead and I will put something down the middle on here. But this is all ending up putting cardstock on the folio, of which we all know how to do that ourselves, pretty much with any kit. So what I'm going to do, you'll see what it all looks like through the walkthrough, and the different tags and those kinds of things. But for now, this is our tutorial, and I will, the tags that I made in here, I made them the same length as this, and made them like, if this is 3 inches, I made my tags like 2 7/8 in the black piece, and 2 3/4 in this piece, so that could go on the black cardstock and give it some base and body, so that when we're putting this in here, there's a little bit of the black and black on the back. Now I may put something along here because there is little tabs in there, and this has also got some glossy accents on this tab. I need to put it on the back of here yet. I didn't do that. So there's some finishing touches that I need to do, but once those finishing touches are done, well, you probably have seen this even before the tutorial. So I hope that this works well for you. I hope that this was as easy enough as a tutorial goes. On the cover, I haven't finished the whole cover, but I just wanted to tell you what I did is I took the main page of the album, or not the album, the collection, or what do they call it? The collection page, or I don't know what they call it. They usually call it something specific, that it's the, you know, everything in here shows up in the rest of the papers. And so what I did with that is I cut out a section of that, then I fussy cut out some of these poinsettias, and also took one of the ephemera pieces, and I backed both of these with some of that thin chipboard, but I did color the thin chipboard with black Sharpie before I put that on there, and then I fussy cut around those edges and around this. I also will add some flowers to this book before it's done, but you would have seen that in the walkthrough. So thank you very much for going through the tutorial with me, and I look forward to hearing your comments to see whether you like this idea of a December daily, kind of a smaller style with not quite as bulky of an album. But I think it still gives you plenty of room for doing the tags and information you'd like. So thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you so much.